This is Dennis Miller, and you're listening to Eddie Floyd and Nevada Matters on Fox News Radio 99.1 FM Talk.
Thank you for that. Dennis Miller, heard right here on a mother station, 99.1 FM Talk, Fox News Radio, the mother station for Nevada Matters, the show where you matter to us and Nevada matters to us all. I'm here with the host of the show, along with yours truly, and that's Steve Ause. Steve, before we get to this wonderful interview you have with our newest congressman, Mark Amodei, let's do a little follow-up, if you don't mind, on the Tea Party Express, where you covered that event for the listeners, and also a little bit about the debate that they had. Could you do that for us?
Yes, as you know, our last show, we talked to the organizers of the Tea Party Express, and they were here in Sparks on their way across Interstate 80 all the way across the country, and They were ending up in Tampa, and they had their debate earlier this week. I thought the debate was great. Anybody who really doesn't know what conservatives believe in of all stripes, I think if they just watched that, they would get the full cross-section. It was a 2-hour debate between a great field of candidates.
Yes, it was.
Did you watch it?
I did.
Yeah. And whether you're a more moderate conservative or a far right one, the entire spectrum, I think, of conservative beliefs were seen that night as each of the speakers talked.
As a matter of fact, I think it was from right to righter is the way I looked at it.
Yeah, that's probably true, yeah. With Romney, you know, he's the successful businessman, and he's running for the job of CEO of America and turnaround artist, and he has a good track record at that. Perry was there, and he wants to get America working again, as he's done in Texas, and he has a good record of jobs there. Of course, Romney pointed out, though, that Perry had a good tailwind. He has a Republican legislature, a Republican court system. He has a right-to-work state and oil in the ground. So he said in the first debate, for him to say he created those jobs is a little bit like Al Gore saying he invented the internet.
Okay.
That was from their mouths, not mine.
Right.
Ron Paul, of course, 20 years of service, promoting liberty and adherence to the Constitution. Newt, always like to hear Newt talk. He's wants to fundamentally change D.C., and he's a real intellectual. I think, though, we may have had enough of intellectuals running our country right now, so I don't think he's got much of a chance.
I agree.
Kane, he's the businessman, and I've had the pleasure of talking to him, and as you know, he's agreed to be on Nevada Matters with us and talk. I like Kane. He has good, solid business ideas. Bachmann, she's certainly the voice of the Tea Party and the House caucus, and which she started, and she's a strong conservative.
Yes.
I'm just not sure she's electable, but if she were president, she's not bad to look at, so I wouldn't mind watching the...
I concur.
I'm not sure that should be the only criteria.
No, not at all.
And then some of the themes that they brought up include that Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. That's what Perry had said. But, you know, he's right. It is a Ponzi scheme.
Well, yeah, you're a financial advisor from Incline Village, so who would know better than you?
Right. It relies on future monies to pay off the benefits of people who already put in prior to them, or like a vertical marketing thing. So calling it a Ponzi scheme is true, but it scares seniors. Romney says it works. Why are you calling it that? But, you know, any Ponzi scheme works for a while until it runs out of new people to put in money to it.
Correct. And
they both want the system to work, fixed, whatever you label it. But I think Perry may pay the price for being honest about calling it a Ponzi scheme. This is the first time I saw Perry in action. I didn't like his view on immigration, though. Gibbons and others who I had interviewed feel that many illegals should largely go back. We should send them back home, and they should get back to the back of the line and do it correctly and immigrate properly. It's really not fair to those who have been waiting offshore for all these years trying to become citizens to have others just come into the country through a hole in the fence.
Exactly.
And Rick Santorum says that we should seal the borders and then figure out what to do with the illegals once we have the borders sealed and deal with it then. Or maybe I should call them undocumented aliens. That's more politically correct, I guess, huh?
Absolutely.
Perry wants to give illegals benefits, and that doesn't seem right. And I wonder if Perry is doing all of this because he wants the votes of the Hispanic community. That could be a part of what's going on here.
Yeah, could be, you know. And but yesterday we had our governor actually this week support Perry as far as endorsing Perry for President of the United States from Governor Brian Sandoval.
He's a good candidate. I could very well go with either Romney or Perry. I'll tell you my favorite in a few minutes.
Okay.
We build walls around prisons, and we could certainly continue to put a wall along the border. Perry didn't stop. He says, let's stop spending money that we don't have on programs we don't need. And, he also apologized for what he thinks now is a mistake for forcing the HPV injections. And I like the fact that he did that. The audience liked the fact that he did that. I kind of wish Romney would fess up and also say he made a mistake with his Romney care.
I do too. Yeah, I think that Romney's a little hesitant in taking blame, and I was very proud of him for doing that.
Mm-hmm. I was too. I liked when Santorum said that Barack Obama's economic plan would need a dramatic improvement to be called even a disaster.
I love that too.
That was one of the better lines that got laughs. Huntsman mirrors the feeling of many that our national debt is the cancer that's eating away at our country.
Yes.
Newt said, and as Sharon Angle and the Tea Party and Mark Amodei says in the interview, that the government doesn't create jobs. It's the private sector that creates jobs. The president just doesn't seem to get it. If the government created jobs, it's with the money that he steals from private enterprise, who can create them more effectively if they just keep the money in the first place.
Agreed, Steve.
Kane is saying that we have to reduce regulations, and things like the EPA have gone wild, and Ron Paul wants to cut military spending, and he draws, I think, an important distinction between military and defense spending. We do a lot of military spending by being in 900 bases around the world in 130 countries.
Right.
And that part may not be needed, but certainly we need a strong defense. Then lastly, somebody said that evening, and it's kind of like when you're in an airplane and they say that the parents should put on the air mask first and then on their children. He said that America is no value to the world if we crumble.
Absolutely. Steve, now you've been advising your clients and the people who listen to Fox News Radio 99.1 FM Talk, our mother station. You've been advising them for quite some time with their financial needs, but let's also let the listeners know that I consider you to be one of our more astute political advisors as well. So who do you think is going to win? Who could win against Obama in 2012?
That certainly is the question, and we're still a year out or so any number of things can change until then. But to me, Romney may be the most electable, and he seems presidential. I'd rather have somebody more conservative like Bachmann or maybe Kane, the businessman, but I think Romney is the most presidential-sounding candidate. And then maybe team him with Marco Rubio.
You know, I'm glad you said that, Steve, because my personal opinion is that no matter who gets the presidential candidacy from the Republican Party, I'd be willing to bet you right now Rubio becomes the vice presidential candidate.
I would hope they would do that. Maybe Bachmann. The thing that Rubio would deliver is that he's a Tea Party favorite, so he would draw them into the fray. They might think that Romney is too moderate for their taste, but if we had Rubio there, then I think they would be happy with that. He would likely deliver the Hispanic vote, and he would also bring in Florida, which is often a swing state. And lastly, Rubio may one day be could be groomed for one day becoming president himself.
Hey, listeners, this is Nevada Matters, the show where you do matter to Steve Ause, you matter to me, you matter to all of us, and so does Nevada, and we will be right back.
Thanks to Nevada Matters veteran shows, if you would like to sponsor a veteran for $100, they will receive a mouse, monitor, computer, keyboard, plus any and all training to help veterans to re-enter the workplace and society. Call My Journey Home of Nevada at 775-825-8118. Again, that number is 775-825-8118.
Hi, this is Debbie McCarthy
and Briscoe Sanderson with Nevada Matters Media. Would you like to save money on your advertising?
We now have a coupon available for half off all your advertising, up to $200.
This offer is only available through Lola's list discount coupons.
So pick up your coupon book at all locations all over Northern Nevada, or visit www.ask4lolascoupon.com. Seats.com now.
Hey, it's Lars, and you're listening to Eddie Floyd and Nevada Matters on Fox News Radio 99.1 FM Talk.
Thank you for that, Lars Larson. Also heard right here on our mother station, 99.1 FM Talk Fox News Radio. And I'm here with Steve Ause, also the host of Nevada Matters. Steve, that was a wonderful commentary in that first segment, but I also understand that you had a real timely interview with someone we now call Congressman Mark Amodei. He wasn't Congressman Mark Amodei when you interviewed him at the beginning, but he's now Congressman Mark Amodei.
Yeah, I was real happy with that. It was maybe 8-9 hours before he was officially elected, and of course he's being sworn in, I think yesterday or today. But yeah, he was at the Incline Village Crystal Bay Republican Women's Club.
And you know, let's pay tribute to them right now. What a wonderful group they are, Steve. I mean, I just am so impressed with the job that the Incline Village Women's Republican Club does up there. It's amazing.
Yeah, and there are many down here too. There's in Reno and others as well. I'm an associate member. It has something to do with my gender that I can't be a full member.
That's right. You can't. You didn't qualify.
No, I asked if I could wear a wig. But
no,
apparently not. No. So Mark was there, and he invited me to be at his press conference the following morning. But priorities, I had a golf game that day.
Hey, listen. Now you're starting to think like a true political analyst. I love that.
And also, if I would have gone to the presser, there would have been many people from the press there as well. So I think Nevada Matters, we rather scooped the thing by having
brother.
just a one-on-one interview without anybody to bug us.
That's right. Let's interview him before the rest of the press. That's our motto.
That's right. During the interview, he talked about how he had the support of many of the state leaders. He had Sandoval support and many others. Just a week prior, he had only been ahead in the polls by 1% or so, but he says he's not a great poll follower.
Right.
I asked him about what he's going to do, what his top priorities are when he gets to D.C. We talked about regulatory issues. We talked about job creation. That's probably the number one concern to Nevadians.
Absolutely.
Is jobs. And growing the economy and how that would increase revenues and get us reduce the debt and increase tax revenues. And we talked about what he'll do when he gets to D.C., presuming he was going to win. At this time, he didn't know. He wasn't, I think he was confident, but certainly not cocky that he was going to win. And
yes.
I'm not so sure he was going to sleep well until he heard, but I believe by about 9 o'clock or so, the winner was declared. And the role of the Tea Party. So why don't we go ahead and hear that interview with Mark Amodei.
All right, sounds wonderful. Okay, we'll light up the interview with Steve Ause, host of Nevada Matters, right now with Congressman Mark Amodei.
I'm here with Mark Amodei, and I hope in a few hours we'll be able to say Senator Mark Amodei. Thank you for talking with me, Mark.
Good to see you.
You've had great support in the campaign. You've had the support of Sandoval, Kruliki, and others.
Yeah, I've been very humbled and gratified by the support from the governor and the lieutenant governor and Congressman Hecht and some of the other sitting congressmen that are already back there have been very helpful, and it's just I think makes you even more humble when you've got those folks knowing that they feel good enough to support you. It's a responsibility to earn that support.
Today you were here at the Washoe County Republican Women's luncheon, and we could clearly see the support today. And I hope you're happy to be here. And of course, we're in a beautiful place here in Incline Village.
Yeah, it's always nice to come up and see this group and be at the lake, even though you grew up 20 minutes away on the other side of the hill. It's still always a special place and great folks, great supporters of the Republican cause.
Yeah. A few weeks ago, gosh, you were only 1% ahead, the polls said, and then the numbers seem to grow, and in Ralston even gives you a low double-digit lead. So what do you think about that? I think you're not a poll-following guy, but you must still be somewhat encouraged.
Well, I hope after they count the votes tonight that the polls are right.
I do too. Your number one task, I suspect, will be jobs for Nevada.
Yeah, there's a bunch to do in Nevada and in the country in general, and that's everything from getting our federal land use agency folks more involved and more timely involved in in making that part of our whole matrix for the economy here in the state, and then the whole regulatory onslaught that's been going on for the past couple of years needs to be addressed and arrested. I mean, nobody's for irresponsibility, but I mean, this has become one of the biggest hindrances to the private sector wanting to step out and move out and do, create and expand and do all that other sort of stuff. So there's a lot of work to be done in the regulatory sector also, as well as the land use stuff here in Nevada, and then finally just the whole financial services of financial institutions in terms of the federal government and that interplay and getting those folks to free up some of their resources, but in a way where they know what's expected of them instead of changing the rules every week. Kind of gets back to that regulatory thing.
Well, isn't the plan, according to Obama, we'll take a lot of taxpayer money and we'll create those jobs?
You know what, the problem with the phrase a government jobs program is that means the government has to have money to do a jobs program, which means you get it from the private sector, which means the private sector continues to suffer in the present economic circumstances. The sort of jobs we need to create are ones that are created by the private sector when they feel comfortable enough that the federal government's not going to be in there hindering their efforts or changing the rules.
I think the role of the government ought to be mostly to get out of the way and create an environment in which the small employers can thrive.
You know, Ronald Reagan proved it when, and in this campaign cycle too, an interesting thing that I tell people, I haven't had a single person tell me the problem is the federal government's too small. So I think we need to, and in respect to the other folks, they've tried it their way for 2 or 3 years. It's not working. We need to stop doing it that way. So more of what we've been trying to do that is not working seems to me to be counterintuitive.
During the debate last night, that was reaffirmed that we just need the government mostly to get out of the way and let the private sector create those jobs, and that's probably with lower taxes and less regulatory consequences and so forth.
Yep. And you know what the irony of the whole thing is when the private sector grows, tax revenues grow. Because there's more people working, there's more people creating transactions that create taxes. So you don't have to raise taxes. It's like for every point that GDP grows, you get about $500 billion to $750 billion in new revenue. So that's part of the answer. You have to cut spending and let the private sector start growing again. And you know what? Things will get turned around. The debt will start coming down. The solution, I sincerely believe, is private sector activity and not federal government programs.
I agree.
Well, I never do that.
Yeah.
You're alone. Never happened to me.
Yeah.
I think I don't understand why the government doesn't understand that during Reagan, during JFK, and other times when they lowered taxes, the government revenues increased. They just don't seem to get that.
You know what? I think we're at a philosophical divide with those who think that the answer is the government, and that's the fountain from which all resources flow. And the problem with that is, for resources to flow out of that, you have to move them out of the private sector. And we've proved over the last few years that that's disaster for the economy in a country like ours.
Now, you may not know the answer to the question, but I know you have your priorities, and you talked about some of them today on the platform. Will you get to go after those the way you want when you get in D.C., or is the agenda driven by the leadership?
Well, you know what? There's several agendas. I mean, obviously you're going to be doing legislative work, but I see a great opportunity for you to go administratively, sit down with these folks and say, listen, we're not going to have a hearing. I'm not going to introduce legislation. I want you to execute within the rules that you have already in terms of your land use policies, your real estate sales policies, your permitting policies. So I plan, if given the opportunity, to go do a lot of work that is not behind the scenes, but it's not on the floor of the House of Representatives. It's talking with those folks, whether it's district managers and their staffs here in Nevada, the state office for BLM, or at the Department of the Interior level, to where it's like, hey, let's sit down and figure out why this isn't working. And you know what, if it doesn't work, then fine, you've always got those other more formal oversight things to do. But I don't think ideally, we don't have the time for all that formality. It's like, hey, tell me why you're not complying with your own regs. And if there's a good reason, then let's figure out how to help you fix it. And if there's not, then we expect you to comply with your own regs. So that's what I'm looking forward to the opportunity to do if things go well tonight.
I haven't asked you before, but I was with the Tea Party when they were on their way across the country, and I interviewed them, and a great bunch of committed people. The big names didn't join them there in Sparks, but they have along the way, and I saw the debate last night. In our debt ceiling increase, I think we've increased it 71 times since the bill was originally passed, and I think it's probably always been done without much discussion at all. I think the Tea Party brought the whole issue to the national discussion. What do you think about the Tea Party and the caucus in the House?
Well, I'll tell you what, I really like their math. They're dead on the fiscal stuff. I mean, that's what most people have been paying attention to and what they're most well known for at this point in time. They're starting to shift a little bit more towards the regulatory stuff, which is good. But I got to tell you, you can't argue with their math for a split second. Their math is excellent, and I agree with it.
Well, good. Well, we wish you the best of luck. In a few hours, we'll have our new Nevada congressman, and we'll look forward to seeing that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. See you guys.
For the second
Thanks
time.
a lot.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
This is Megan Fitzpatrick with Nevada Matters Media, and we want to thank our friends at Star Sound Audio, located at 2679 Audi Boulevard here in Reno, Nevada. You can contact Star Sound Audio, Inc. at 775-331-1010 or email them at esales@starsound.com. Ask for John or Terry and tell them that Megan from Nevada Matters Media sent you for the best selection, the lowest prices, and the most professional crew in all of Northern Nevada.
This is Lars Larson. You're listening to Eddie Floyd and Nevada Matters on Fox News Radio 99.1 FM Talk.
Boy, thank you for that, Lars Larson. Also heard here on Fox News Radio 99.1 FM Talk, Mother Station for Nevada Matters. Steve, we got another interview, and I want to make sure we don't miss it here on this segment. So you interviewed Amy as well, right?
Amy Tarkanian, yes, she's the new Nevada GOP chairperson, taking over for Mark Amodei. Mark had to step down from that office when he decided to run for Congress in the vacated position of Dean Heller. Her goal is to get rid of Barack Obama. He's been a one-term president. I wish he'd been a zero-term, but she wants to make sure he's not a two-term president. She's a busy mother of four, doing all this at the same time, and she's also talking about the caucus that will be here in Nevada, and all of the big hitters will be here in Nevada, not that far down line as they run for president. So why don't we go ahead and hear that interview with Amy. This is Steve Ause with Fox News Radio, and I'm here with Amy Tarkanian. She spoke today at the Washoe County Republican Women's Group here in Incline Village. She is the Nevada GOP chairperson. She took over from Mark Amodei, who we expect by tomorrow at this time will be our new congressman, and she will be up for re-election in October. What does your position do? What's your role?
Sure. Well, actually, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this. Being the newly elected GOP chairman is quite an honor, and there's lots to do. Number one is fundraising. We obviously have this special election taking place, and that was a big priority of mine to make sure that Mark Amodei is going to be elected as our next congressman for CD2. And it's looking very positive, so I'm very excited about that. Secondly, we have the caucus actually coming up in February, and we are going to be fourth in the nation, but first in the West, which is important. We are going to be following New Hampshire. Will be the Saturday after New Hampshire, and the nation's eyes will definitely be focused on us. We're definitely going to have Mitt Romney, looks like Rick Perry, and Ron Paul at this point, all playing in our state. And so this is going to be huge for Nevada. Having Mark Amodei elected as congressman is going to be our first step in showing President Obama that his time is up. So once we have our caucus and all the players, so to speak, on board, this is going to be a huge step in the right direction for Nevada in showing the nation that it's time to go the GOP route, and it's time to get rid of Barack Obama. So with that being said, very excited, very happy to be here, and looking forward to painting Nevada red.
Good. Amy, thank you for your time. Very nice to meet you.
Yeah, you as well.
Thank you.
Hey, it's Sean Patrick. You can catch me weekday mornings, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on 99.1 FM Talk, and you're listening to Nevada Matters with Eddie Floyd.
Thank you for that, Sean Patrick, heard right here on Fox News Radio, 99.1 FM Talk, our mother station, every Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. till 9 a.m. Don't miss him and get involved. Speaking of getting involved, we are here with Steve Ause, who is the host, along with me, of Nevada Matters. Wonderful interview with Congressman now, Mark Amodei, and just hours before he became Congressman Mark Amodei.
Indeed.
That's what we love to do here at Nevada Matters. That's scoop the rest of the press. And a wonderful interview with Amy Tarkanian. Let's close out the show with Steve Ause's opinion of, okay, who is going to be the Republican candidate for president in 2012?
Well, I think it'll be Romney. Things can change. A lot of things can change, but I think it'll be Romney. He seems presidential. He has the right views. I think he's the guy that can turn around our country, too.
All right. Well, guess what? You and I are going to have a friendly $1 bet in a golf game. $1 bet in a golf game
Because
I
you
say
think it's going to be
Perry.
Perry.
I think it's going to be Perry. And I also think that we'll probably be in agreement that Rubio will be the vice presidential candidate. I think that's for obvious reasons. You know, they not only need Florida, they not only need the Hispanic vote with Rubio, but also, more importantly, I think Rubio is an excellent candidate and perhaps down the road will make an excellent president of these United States.
Yeah, indeed. As I said, I would like to see Bachmann as president, maybe Kane, but somebody said you have to pick the most conservative candidate that can win. And the that can win part is what we have to be concerned about.
When it comes to Bachmann, I wouldn't like to see her be president. Now, truthfully, as I look at her, I'd like her to be my first lady, but that's about it, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
You know, here. But, you know, when we start talking about the candidates here in the great state of Nevada, we've had our governor, like we said in a prior segment, we had our governor endorse Perry as well, and he seems to think along the same lines as Perry, and I know that you are also a big supporter of our governor, Governor Sandoval.
You bet.
But it's also another example how we don't have to all agree, you know, on anything, Steve. And I want to have you come back as quick as you can with more interviews so that we can have other great segments here of Nevada Matters.
You bet. One thing on Perry, I think the press is going to go after him like they did with Palin, and that might be a headwind he will have a difficult time with.
You better believe it, and we'll see exactly how Perry does as he goes against the press. We'll probably have you go scoop Perry before the rest of the press does it. Listeners, this has been Nevada Matters, the only show here where you matter to us and Nevada matters to us all.